This
Hello,
meeting is being
and
recorded.
welcome to the RM Show. I'm your host, Ricky, joined as always by Simon and Ashley as we speak about the NFL now that the season unfortunately is over. How are we, guys?
Yeah, all good. Thanks, Rick.
Good, thanks, mate. It's just sorry. It seems the season's over. It seems to have got a bit quickly. Where those 6 months have they seem to have flown by. But what an ending!
Oh, brilliant, wasn't it? You know, how can you argue it? Where else can we start with but the Super Bowl? Great from start to finish. Ash, obviously, for a lot of the game, it looked like we were going to get a Cinderella story, but in the end, you know, the big players managed the fourth quarter better.
Yeah, definitely. The way it was going, the Rams started really well, didn't they? Beckham Jr. He was flying, wasn't he? He was kind of the go-to man. They couldn't get the run going, the Rams, but I think he had Cup and Beckham, and then that injury to Beckham really threw the Rams off, didn't it? They really couldn't get into a groove at all until that last drive, into the last couple of minutes of the game. And I think at that point, I think it was just Stafford going to Cooper Cup and winning it that way. There was no one else he was going to throw to, I don't think, and in that last drive. So he went back to basics. He went to the guy that he knew he could trust, and they got it over the line. And then obviously the defense for the Rams stepped up massively in that second half. We were talking before about that defense, wasn't we? And Aaron Donald, he was always going to have a say in that game. Those last two plays was unbelievable. They had two chances to get 1 yard, and he stopped them on both. And he doubly deserves it. But yeah, it was looking like the Bengals were gonna get it. But I am glad that the Rams got it in the end. It was nice to see Stafford win. You know, a Super Bowl for him to go to a team that he could really, you know, grow his game. A team that deserved his game. I think he's a really good quarterback, and he stuck it out at the lines for a long time. He didn't moan, he didn't complain, he got on with it. But he got his chance and he took it, and him along with Donald, they thoroughly deserved their rings.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. Like I say, they just managed it better. Obviously, the Bengals defense side in the fourth quarter give away some stupid penalties. A lot of the time in their own, went down by their own line, a few pass interferences, a few stupid ones. That penalty where the ineligible player just ran on the pitch and started celebrating and stuff. Just ridiculous for a Super Bowl to do stuff like that. But Joe Burrow and his team, they can hold their head up high. You think of them beating the Titans, the Chiefs, you know, knocking out teams that were, you know, really fancied to go all the way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And and let's be honest, they really pushed the Rams to the brink. Really, it's not like I think the Rams have really got away with this by the skin of the teeth because they played so well. And unfortunately, like you said, some of those penalties were they had such a clean game, and it was a pity really from their point of view that the ones that the penalties they did have were just complete boneheaded moves, whether it be the offensive lineman deciding he wants to punch the defender in the head, or Vernon Hargreaves must have felt like he was getting twitchy feet on the sideline and he just wanted to jump in. But just stupid penalties really, and just things where that, you know, that could be the difference between them. Well, that could have cost them the game really, and then in some ways I think it did. But I suppose, but for the Bengals' point of view, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with because it's still a young team. They've got so much talent and to work with as well. And if there was any doubt whether Burrow was going to fully recover from that torn ACL last year, I think he's certainly answered those questions now. And I think probably what impressed me is just as much as his accuracy and his throwing, but just how tough he was as well, because he got banged around a couple of times in in that game, and he got up and carried on playing. Even that one where he came up, and I thought he actually winced a bit as well. Not long before Stafford went down, I thought, are we going to see a game of backup quarterbacks in this game? But no, he literally dusted himself off when he came back, and it was He was nearly there. He was nearly there. Unfortunately, it just got so one-dimensional without Mixon really causing any harm at all. And the Rams defensive line managed to break the code in terms of getting to him as well. So it just wasn't meant to be. But you've got to give them a huge amount of credit just for how well they've done. And bar a few certain moments in the game, we could have been talking about a different scoreline.
No, definitely, you're right. Like I said, if you're going to punch someone, do it like the guy did a few years ago to CJ Johnson for the Saints. Smack him properly. But yeah,
make it count. Yeah,
make it count. But yeah, no, I agree with you. Both teams didn't really have a run game, did they? To be honest, both defenses stopped any run. People like Akers, who've been brilliant all season, couldn't get going either. That young tight end for the Rams as well, he stepped in, didn't he? No Higbee, Branton wasn't there. The Hopkins, he made some big plays, especially in that last drive. As well as obviously, like you said, Ash Cooper Cup, it was just, if I need that yardage, I'm going there. So, yeah, interesting one. But what do we think then? Coaches, Sean McVay, Ash would have been under a lot of pressure if they didn't win that with the money spent. He's shown them the Rams did the right thing, getting in a coach at such a young age.
Yeah, he's done a brilliant job, and let's not forget he got them to a Super Bowl 4 years ago. They lost to my boys, and that wasn't a high scoring game either. I think it was more a very defensive game, that one. But yeah, he's grown. Yes, he has been given. Let's not lie. He's been given that money. He's been given that the opportunity to go and get some of the best players in the league, hasn't he? They've traded a lot. They've gambled a lot on this team. It's going to be interesting how they're going to handle that going forward. They're not going to be a force for too long, I don't think, because of the team that it's like a superstar team they put together for the short term, isn't it? So the pressure was on him because of that as well. So, but I like Sean McVay. I think he handles himself really well on the pitch as well. He's not a coach you see effing and blinding all the time, is he? He's not somebody who's, you don't see him be that aggressive, or I think he's a very calm guy, and I like him. Whether or not he's talking about maybe taking a step away, because I know he's young, isn't he? He wants to start a family, so to be interesting to see what happens with that Rams team going forward, with the questions over Aaron Donald as well. But yeah, I'm really happy Sean McVay got the win. And the pressure was on. It's not easy, is it? All the eyes were on that team. So I'm glad he got it done.
No, that's true. I love the fact that the start of the toss, they were like, "You're the away team," and I was thinking, "Oh, right, really?"
I know, it's a bit weird.
The designated away team. Yeah, madness. But on the other side of it, then Simon as well, obviously Bengals head coach, the two youngest coaches in the league, and he's done it really with just building a team in a draft. Yes, they brought in obviously Hendrickson and players who've made a difference, but not the names of the Rams, but they showed that they can mix it with the best of them, and he's one of the reasons why, obviously with his coaching. Yeah,
they've made it quite a true bit of business over the last 2 years, really, just bringing in maybe just not the top players on the shelf, but somewhere about mid-range who have just been the cheaper commodities, but they've fitted in really well to a system which they've all bought into. I mean, I think DJ Reader is probably one of the most marquee signings outside of Hendrickson on that defense, whereas people like even Chidobe Awuzie as well, just all these players who could really play, just they just all bought into a system as well, and I think within 2 years, I think they've got something like 7 new starters on that defense as well, and that takes time for it all to gel. And lo and behold, it sort of all came together really nicely in this season. So they had what I thought just a perfect balance between just the youth coming through, the exciting talent on the offensive side, and then the more experience players on the defensive side of the ball. But I think they just took people on with no fear, really, and I think they having that sort of energy as well, that from the coach Zach Taylor, who came from Sean McVay, you can see his fingerprints all over that in the way he coaches, really. And I think I think they sort of scared a lot of people, and I think they will continue to scare a lot of people as well. And I'm just really excited. I'm nervous because they're an AFC rival to see how far they can go, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're back deep into the playoffs next year.
No, you're right, mate. It's been brilliant. It's good, like I say, Cinderella story. Good to see a team that comes out of nowhere and shows up. And yeah, hopefully, like you say, it's not just going to be one season. They get to the Super Bowl and stuff like that. Hopefully, with like I said, Burrow, Chase, Higgins, they've got and obviously a good defensive line, like you said. They've got a team that can mix it up for years. But we'll have to see how that goes forward now. But yeah, one hell of a game, great ending, and the perfect way to end off the season. Ash, what about that Super Bowl halftime show? I think it's the best one I've seen. I was getting all emotional and nostalgic thinking of my teenage years listening to all them guys. What did you think?
Watch it all back. Oh, it was amazing. It's the best halftime show I've ever seen. I think it'll go down as one of the best ever. It was just amazing, wasn't it? I mean, it brought me back to when I was in my younger days, all those songs. And I'm a big fan of Eminem anyway, and Dr. Dre, so I loved it. I could have sat there and watched another 2 hours of it. It's going to be hard to top that. For me, it's the best one I've ever seen.
I think I just had goosebumps as well. Just that you can picture it now. Just that scene of Dr. Dre lifting out of the back of the trailer with the huge soundboard in front of him, just the beat just kicking in, and then I just felt like just getting up dancing in my living room as well. If it wasn't for about 11:30 at night and I wake everyone up, but still, I think it just, like you said, there was just absolute full of nostalgia, and just the whole effect of it was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I agree with you both. I think best one ever. You like say a lot has been said about Eminem taking a knee and stuff like that, but makes sense. Why would he listen to the NFL if they so-called told him not to do it? It's a global statement. You're making a statement, aren't you?
Exactly, and I'm glad he did it.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so that was the Super Bowl. Simon, obviously, I'll come to you first, mate, about next season, what you're hoping for. Obviously, your season with the Ravens, but at least you did have a Raven at the Super Bowl and Calais Campbell on commentary.
Yeah, so if I'll take one. If it's not the whole team, then I'll accept that as well. And what was really nice to hear during the commentary as well, but he's going to stick around for another season, which I think, to be honest, is a great thing for us, because I still think they'll probably be likely to, because we seem to have quite a bit of a turnover every year, like most teams do with players. And I think just have an old wise head in that locker room, even when sometimes things don't go particularly well, just to steady the ship a little bit. So I think sometimes you just can't have enough of those experienced players in that locker room as well. But yeah, obviously for this season it was disappointing, but we were banged and bruised really, and I think even Campbell made a reference to it in the commentary about sometimes we were very, very aggressive, almost too aggressive at times. I think sometimes I would have just gone for the safe option, that just take the kick rather than just go for two every time and just play the percentages. I think there's a lot of holes to fill within the team. Particularly, I think offensive line is something which we definitely have to address as a must. And I think even a lot of the mock drafts I've seen so far have predicted us going a tackle or something like that first round, which I really hope that's the case, because Stanley, we don't know whether he's going to be fully fit from his season-ending injury. A lot of moving parts as well on that offensive line. Anyway, there's I think pass rush we don't seem to have an answer for that yet. So that's something which is it's got to be fixed one way or another, because Adafiowe did look like a good young player, but I think he still needs time because he's like a work in progress. And also, we pretty much all our defensive backs were pretty much injured last year. So is Peters and Marlon Humphrey going to be able to come back to full strength as well? So yeah, there's a lot of questions. I hope they can just put a healthy team together first for next season, and then we'll go from there. I'm not building my expectations up too much. I think there's still a bit of regathering to do, but like we'll see. Obviously, draft and free agency could hopefully bring us some new surprises and some fresh faces to help push the team forward.
Yeah. Well, from someone who benefited from going for an offensive line this season, I would I would say that Lamar would probably benefit from having to not scramble so much. So yeah, no, like you said, it was a work in progress season. You had so many players out, didn't you? And you're right about the field goals, because when you've got Justin Tucker, it's like Evan McPherson for the Bengals now. You guaranteed the points, aren't you?
I know, yeah.
But yeah, be interesting to see in what is always an exciting conference yours. So it's going to be good now, especially with so many changes going on there in some of the teams as well. So it's going to be an interesting conference. How about you, Ash? Obviously, bit of a mixed season. Looked like for a while you were going to easily get to the playoffs, but a bit of an experience then.
Yeah, it was. And it was. You look back at it, I think Matt Jones has had a good rookie season. It's his first season, and again, the Patriots are a team in rebuild mode. So for him to go into that team, and I think he did command that offense, isn't he? You did see him put his own stamp on it a little bit, and that's only going to get better. I thought McDaniels held him back a little bit. I'm glad that he's gone. I think we needed that change. So I'm excited to see what the next offensive coordinator can do with Matt Jones. I think you've got to let him off the leash a bit more. But our defense is going to have to be addressed at linebacker, safety. We're going to have to try and knuckle down some players there. I'm not sure if Hightower is going to be sticking around, but even so, we need to get more pressure on quarterbacks as well. We're not doing it enough. I think we were probably one of the lowest in the sacks last season. So for me, defensive line, or it's the linebacker, or if there's somebody can get into quarterback spaces, put that pressure on, and that's what I want to see. That's what I want to see the Patriots aim for. I think if we can get that, if we can get more pressure on that, opposing quarterbacks, then hopefully we can be in for a decent season.
Yeah, and that's what you need, isn't it? Like I said, it looked like obviously your run game was brilliant for most of the season, and and you're having people like Hunter Henry come in, he, apart from in the wild card where he did drop the ball, he didn't look like he was going to drop it.
No, I know. And John Smith as well. I want to see John Smith. I think hopefully he'll step up a bit more next season. He's had a year to settle it. He's on a 4-year contract. So I think there's going to be a lot of off-season work there with Mac and him.
Yeah. No, like you're saying, even Bourne and Mike Mayers had a good season as well, didn't they? They were catching well. So on the offense, I agree. I think you're probably set. But yeah, it's just getting in there defensive. But yeah, again, it's going to be a good season. The Bills are obviously going to be strong again. And yeah, who knows how the Dolphins are going to go, but we don't even talk about the Jets. So
no, what's the point?
Who? But yeah, no, interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens now next season with you guys. Well, for us, I don't know what we do this season. we actually learn to control a game, I suppose. That's the way. See out the game where you're 21-3 up in the championship game, but. Yeah, this season, I don't know what it is, but in some key games, Mahomes is it's like he's just got bored and not really protected the ball. It's just, they said all the way through the season how he's learned to make them small passes rather than looking for the deep bombs, which he has. He's made some good plays. He's scrambled, obviously, a lot when we've needed to him, especially against the Bills in that playoff game. But against that Bengals game was done. We score a touchdown at the end of that first half instead of getting a stop. And I think the game's over, but then that interception he threw and just don't do it. So he needs to be a bit more consistent, I think, which is a weird thing to say about the highest paid sportsman in the world. But I don't know what we need. I still would like, I think, in the back, like you said about your safeties. I love L'Jarius Sneed, obviously the Honey Badger. need to tie him down to a longer contract. But apart from that, there's nothing. I don't think Treverius Ward is good enough when he goes up against a good player, as Jamar Chase showed twice. I know Jamar Chase is a freak, but still. And Fenton, Thornhill, and obviously Sorensen, who everybody loves to hate. They're not the players to do that. But yeah, offensive line great, obviously, like we mentioned. Obviously, as long as Hardman come on a bit this year, and as long as you've got Hill and Kelsey, you're going to be all right. The running back, obviously, the running backs come through, McKinnon especially in the playoffs. But linebackers, 2 good young linebackers, but after them, I don't know what we got really going there. So, now interesting, seeming as we've given away all our first round picks so that we could get Orlando Brown. So it's going to be interesting to see who they can bring in. But yeah, I think next season we need just to be a bit more, have a bit more common sense when you're leading games. Apart from the Bills game, which I think we'll all agree was just the most mental game ever watched.
What a game that was.
Like what play in the game. But yeah, it didn't really matter. There was no common sense. It was just, I'll go, you go. Yeah. Just needs common sense. Oh, that divisional round, that's the best I've seen.
Amazing. It's the best I've ever seen.
It's definitely up there with the game of the season, isn't it?
But yeah,
for me, that is the game of the season.
That was the game of the season. I agree with you. I think it was brilliant. But just like the other 3 tight games, just 3 points, but they were all brilliant, weren't they?
The fact that topped those 3 as well says how good I think the standard was that weekend. It was the best I've ever seen. All the games went down to the wire. It was just, for that Bills game, that Chiefs game was, it's probably one of the best games I think I've ever seen. Not just of the season, I think I've ever seen. I just last 2 minutes of the game, and I know how many touchdowns in the last 2 minutes of that game?
2 touchdowns and a field goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, insane.
Crazy.
Just shows
amazing.
Though, I mean. No. Well, what do we think then? Because obviously, who's gonna next season? Then let's give a bit of a thing to who's gonna be the ones who really obviously we haven't seen a fixture list. You could have something like the Broncos this year played 3 rubbish teams and were 3-0, and you're thinking what's going on here. But who's really going to show? Because like I say, you've got in the AFC obviously you've got Josh Allen, you've got Mahomes, you've got Lamar, you've got Mac Jones is going to have another season. You've got Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. You've got so many talented players. Which quarterback and team are you looking forward to seeing in the AFC next year? And who's really going to make an impact?
For me, I think it depends. I think the Titans, depends what they do with Tannehill. I think if they've got a phenomenal team, Titans, and if anyone but Ryan, if they had an elite quarterback in that playoff game, they would have breezed, and the Bengals wouldn't have got as far as they did. I think if the Titans go for like a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers, you just don't know, do you? Then if they get an elite quarterback, then I think the Titans are going to be up there. So I'm looking forward to see what they do in the off season and what they do again next year. If they keep Derrick Henry fit all season, it'll be interesting to see what the Cardinals do on the other side, and what's going on with Kyler Murray, and what they're going to do. You'll have Hopkins back next season, which can be a complete game changer. So going away from the Bills, all the usual teams that are going to, obviously going to be in there. For me, the Colts, the Titans, and the Cardinals, are teams that I'm looking forward to see what because I also like what Miami are doing. They've got a good coach in now. The guy from the 49ers, I think he's going to add a lot of, bring a lot to that Miami offense. So I'm excited to see. I shouldn't really be in my division, but I'm excited to see what they're going to do this season. I think that coach can really elevate that offense for sure.
Yes, I'm obviously Ashley mentioned about the Cardinals. On the other side of it, then on the NFC, who do you think is gonna improve this year? Obviously, we had teams improve as it went on, like the 49ers. But who are you looking forward to seeing on that side of it? And is it a lot to do with who's coming in to replace the Bucks and the Packers if Rodgers does go?
Well, yeah, then it very much could be, and it could be a hit or a miss for both of those teams. Whether they get the selection of the quarterback right or not. But they are a couple of teams in the mix who I'd be curious to see. But the one that I'd be interested to keep an eye on as well is the Eagles, because I think with Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith, there'll be they've had a year underneath their belts working with each other as well. And not only that, they've got 3 first-rounders in this draft, and that's an awful lot of talent they could add to this team as well. And I mean, it was they didn't do badly. I mean, they came unstuck against the Bucks, and they gave them a go, and I think there were still a couple of pieces that were missing from that team. And I think if they play this off-season right, they could really add those pieces to this team. And I think as well, they're really good in terms of where they are with the salary cap as well. So I think they could offer a huge amount of talent to this team. So granted, those draft picks, it's still a gamble, and it's still anyone's guess whether they get it right on the day. But just the potential they could have for this team to improve, I think, is massive. I do like the look of the Eagles. There's and I think as well, and if the Broncos do manage to get just a solid quarterback, really, granted, they're AFC, but I think it's just another team which I think they could really offer something. As far as any other team, I think there's a couple which I think they've got. They've got the pieces, or they've got the quarterbacks, but it's whether or not can they take them to the next level. I think for me, like the Vikings or something like that. I mean, it's Kirk Cousins. Can he? But he's either very hit or very miss. I think hopefully, and I think by the looks of it, Kevin O'Connell, the offensive coordinator for the Rams, is likely to get that job. Hopefully, he'll have the sort of the right experienced head to sort of point him in the right direction. But the defense was a bit all over the shop as well. So they're another team which could be in a wide open conference, especially if Rodgers goes. So yeah, those are the two that are really standing out for me at the moment.
Yeah. For me, so we all pick different teams while we're looking at the seats. So I like it. So for me, Cowboys, how they go, Dak Prescott, how much more time they're going to give him to actually deliver them. Because this year they should have, at least got to the championship game. If you're asking me, with the team they had and the way they were playing, especially on defense, like Parsons, Diggs and his interceptions, CeeDee Lamb come on the offense as well, and Dalton Schultz. And obviously when you got Zeke Elliott, you're expecting more. So I'm interested to see how they do and how long they give Dak next season, if, whether the next season they have someone else. And for me, the Seahawks and the Saints, because, they've always been up there. They've always been good. Like you say about Russell Wilson, you could say the same, since Drew Brees has gone, obviously, it's not been very good at quarterback for them, but Michael Thomas should be back hopefully next season, which will make a big difference to them. So I'm interested to see how they do next year, because again, they've got some pieces, but they need someone to come in, especially if Russell Wilson goes. They need someone to come into them teams and really make them the teams that they were a few years back. But them two I'm looking forward to. AFC for me is all what happens at Pittsburgh. Now Big Ben's gone. What happens there? Because they still do have quite a few good players. Obviously bringing in Najee Harris, who was great this season. Still got Schuster there. Still got a few other young players. So and then obviously on defense, animals still like TJ Watt. So interested to see what happens there. And also, surely now Justin Herbert this year is going to be his year. He's been nearly there all season, isn't he? A bit like you say, he's Kirk Cousins. He's a bit either he's on fire and you can't touch him, as he showed against us early in the season, or he goes missing. But looking forward to them in the AFC and seeing what they do. But surely, guys, Jacksonville are going to win it next year because they're going to get another load of draft picks. They're going to have a whole new team of young rookies.
Well, they're going to be in a good position. Another team I'm actually going to put in there, you might laugh at this, is going back to the division, is New York Giants. I think we need to start paying attention a bit to them. I think they got two first round picks in the top 10 going into this draft. They got cap space. If they get rid of Daniel Jones and if they go for an elite quarterback, there's quite a few up there in it this season. And if they have the guts to get rid of Jones and go and get someone like Wilson or Watson or whichever one they're going to go with, they've got quite a good offense anyway. They've got some good weapons on that team. And with the first, to have two top 10 picks in the first round, for me, I think we should be looking at the Giants a little bit as well. But yeah, going back to Jacksonville, yeah, I mean, what else do they need? another first round pick. Surely they're going to have a much better season this year.
I would hope so. When you know that Trevor Lawrence is going to be a bit more wise this season now, and like I say, he's going to have more weapons to play with. But yeah, probably need to get a bit better on the defense this year rather than the offense that they tried to get last year. But
yeah,
it's going to be. There's so many, like I said, so many variables of what could happen next year because there's been so much change already without the season only just stopping. So you say it's going to be a nice merry-go-round, which we'll have to look forward to. I'll just ask you one final question then, guys. So, obviously it's hypothetical because we don't know what's going to happen. But Ash, who are you picking for the Super Bowl next year?
Depends what they do out in the off season. It's hard to say. I think if the Titans go and get an elite quarterback, the Titans. If it stays as it is, I'm going to go with Chiefs. I'm going to go with you guys. Yeah.
What about on the NFC?
I think the Cardinals are going to be stronger next year. I think if you keep Kyler Murray fit, they've got the team there, haven't they? They're rebuilding, and if Kyler Murray gets his form back, then they're gonna, and they got Hopkins back as well, game changer. So yeah, for now that's what I'm going to go with. That's probably likely to change though.
What about you, Simon?
I think for the AFC, I'm going to go with Buffalo because they've just got so much talent, and I think they just fell short really. And I think they'll be able to try and keep the core of that team together, minus probably a couple of pieces there. I think the team is set for another run really. I definitely think like the Cowboys, like you mentioned. I think if they can, if they, as long as they, I think it's more, they're a bit more wise in terms of being able to make those key decisions at the right time, not being aware of how much time's left on the clock and things like that. That will make a big difference for them. Those are my two AFC. Whereas NFC, I think you've got to look at that in sort of NFC West. I think someone's definitely going to still going to emerge from that pack as well. So I think even though they may not be as strong as they were, I think the Rams will give this another good go. Less a few of the stars which they've got now. There's definitely going to be a few that are going to be gone, but I'd be fascinated to see with the Packers as well, because and I say that with a caveat really, because if Rodgers stays, I think Packers can go all the way. If he's gone, then I think they're a rebuilding team. But those are my two.
No, good ones. I'm going to go with AFC. I think it's these are two left field ones. No one would think of it. I'm going to either say the Chargers, because I really do think that Justin Herbert could have a season, or as Ash mentioned, the Colts. Not with Carson Wentz, but if they get someone in who can, Jonathan Taylor and the wide guys who are doing well with that defense, I think it's going to be one of them. I'd go for one of them too, just completely like Cincinnati did this year, come out of nowhere. NFC, I can't see past the 49ers. If they keep everyone fit, Jimmy G's gone, Trey Lance maybe comes in and does have a good season. It's a lot to ask, don't get me wrong, in his first season, but just the likes of Deebo Samuel, Kittle, and if they can keep that defense together, then yeah, that they would be mine. I think I think I would go down them routes. Could be completely wrong. Like I say, Green Bay, if Rodgers stays there, are going to be in it again. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I'd love to see that. As much as I'd love to see, obviously, my Chiefs in the Super Bowl. If it wasn't going to be us, I'd love to see like a Colts or Chargers versus 49ers Super Bowl. But going to have to see. There's a lot still to go through, like say free agency and drafts and God knows what else with trades going close to the season and obviously head coaches. So it's going to be interesting. All right, guys, I think our time is nearly up. So thank you for all of this season being part of the podcast. It's been real good fun chatting about the games. And, you know, we've been spoiled, as we said, with some of the games, especially in the playoffs. And let's just hope that next season is exactly the same. To the viewers, obviously keep on following us, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like and comment on there. Look out for links on our social media pages. But until, you know, some big stories hit or, you know, the draft and free agency starts, guys, thank you for this year. And I look forward to talking to you about NFL now this year.
It's been lovely. Thanks, Rick.
It's a pleasure. Cheers, right?
Always,
do myself on a Tuesday now.
I've got plenty to do now on Tuesday. Yeah.
I'm sure you
No.
will.
Yeah, he's glad it's over now.
But thank you guys. And like we say, we'll have a catch up soon.
Sounds good.
Bye, guys.